You guys, welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your place to talk about the stuff that you love. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And what a week this has been, you guys. What a roller coaster week in terms of movies and movie news. We've received some things that we've expected. We've received some things that we didn't expect. And yeah, the world keeps on turning, and helping the world to keep on turning, it's our good friend Moses Akempta. Woo woo, dude, how are you?
I'm good. I guess I didn't do it the first time I came on, so I guess this is why I'm here to make up for dead.
What are you talking about?
I'm just like why I'm here again.
You weren't good enough the last time. You are wearing quite a Spider-Man themed T-shirt. What's going on there?
So I believe the artist is Prime Premini. I get all sorts of shirts from him, and he's always on the and basically it's all the different versions of Spider-Man. Versus all the different types of Venoms and iterations in the style of Marvel v. Capcom. I'll definitely probably have to wear the shirt when we connect.
That's awesome.
So you can kind of get the
I'm loving it.
Of it. And yeah, I love it. I love Spider-Man. I love video games. So this was something that was pretty much like, it was like the symbiote where it was just like, before it was a them, but now it's a we type. Now it's a we type thing. So.
Dude, that's awesome, and I love I love that Spider-Punk is like front and center. So fun, so cool. Well, dude, thanks so much for joining us again. You were here last week, and now you're here again this week to help us talk about all sorts of breaking news. And of course, like the big news that everybody's waiting for is Spider-Man No Way Home. Obviously, we're going to be breaking down the trailer. We're going to talk more about it in detail later on at the end of the show. But in case you haven't done so already, please click that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. With the more subscribers the channel gets, the more watched content the channel gets. And with the more watched content the channel gets, hopefully, fingers crossed, I get to make this show my full-time job. So very much appreciate that. If anybody has any movie news or comments or anything in specific that you don't think that I've covered enough or at all, send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com. And as long as your email is family friendly, or, you know, comment or question or whatever, we can make it a main topic here on the show and talk about what you guys want to talk about. All right, you guys, before we jump into our emails, we have one thing to cover real quick.
Real quick.
Listen, real quick.
Okay.
All right, you guys, and real quick, if you haven't heard already, this last kind of week, or I guess currently still going on, really, starting on Monday, kicked off CinemaCon in Las Vegas. So CinemaCon, it's like Comic-Con, but specifically where NATO, or the North American Theater Owners Organization, they all get together and kind of put on like a big, huge con. Essentially, you know, a lot of the theater owners come out and do demonstrations and presentations and say, hey, this is what we're doing to improve our theaters. This is our business plan moving forward, and kind of make it like big public knowledge, but in like a con kind of way, right? And of course, like all the big movie studios come out and do their presentations. Like Warner Brothers has like a big presentation. Of course, Sony had a big presentation. And in Sony's big presentation, it was a 3-hour block. There was 3 hours that was dedicated specifically to Sony, and everybody was wondering, like, why is the Sony block 3 hours? I mean, most panels go on for what, like, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, but a 3-hour panel, everyone was just, what in the world could they possibly be announcing or showing? Well, we got that answer. And by we got that answer, I actually mean the people going to CinemaCon got that answer. Sony Entertainment, Sony Studios showed the movie Ghostbusters Afterlife in its entirety. This came as such a shock, such a surprise. Nobody expected this. It just kind of came out of the blue and kind of blew people away. One of the big questions that we've been wondering around here is, when is Ghostbusters Afterlife? Well, like, we know it's coming out in November. We've had a whole bunch of trailers already, but like, one of the big questions is it going to be any good? We had 2016 Ghostbusters from Paul Feig, excuse me, and it was okay. It wasn't complete trash. It wasn't complete garbage, but it also didn't really hold up to the spirit, to the tradition that is Ghostbusters. But based on some of the social reactions, this is looking pretty good. And I don't want to get my hopes up too much. But let's jump in here real quick. In the wrap, they have a list of a whole bunch of tweets that people have posted. Scott Menzel says, Ghostbusters Afterlife is the Ghostbusters sequel that I've been waiting all my life to see. It is nostalgia done right, a perfect blend of classic Ghostbusters moments with a fresh and unique twist for a whole new generation to enjoy. I got goosebumps. Jason Guracio, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says Ghostbusters Afterlife, wow, was not expecting how heartfelt it is. It has a very childlike Spielberg vibe to it, and Jason Reitman, the director, is extremely loyal to the original. It goes on, Ghostbusters Afterlife was great. As someone who wasn't a massive fan of Ghostbusters, I had so much fun even without understanding the references. A ton of heart with a great cast. Now, new and old fans are going to love it. Stay through the credits. Just saw Ghostbusters Afterlife thanks to CinemaCon and Sony Pictures. It felt like Jason Reitman's love letter to his father and daughter while making a great Ghostbusters movie on its own. And it goes on and on and on about callbacks and nostalgia to the original. And, so many people are pretty stoked about this. Obviously, the people who have seen it. So, Moses, when you hear something like this, because you're a Ghostbusters fan, like you are a geek with the best of us. What I want to hear your thoughts about the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot, and just really quick, what were your thoughts of it, and what do these reactions mean to you?
It's been a while since I've seen Ghostbusters. I've seen it, like, being a child of the late 80s. I've definitely seen it. I'm familiar with Slimer and Stay Puft and everything. And I mainly remember Ghostbusters because of the ecto cooler high-C things that I always wanted to get in grade school and everything.
Oh,
so,
ecto cooler.
Yeah, deep pull for that. I haven't revisited it. I haven't revisited it in many years, so it's just like I need to be refamiliarized with it. But I haven't seen the 2016 Ghostbusters, but from the vibe that I've got from everybody who's seen it, it's like they weren't that impressed with it, because of the utilization or misutilization of the actresses involved. But when I hear stuff like this, it's like, it makes me want to get back into it, and just because I want to see it properly done, because it's like, you can kind of get the vibe when something's done from the heart and where something's a cash grab. So it's like, I want to, because even when I saw the trailer for this, I was like, this looks interesting. Like, I may want to get back into this. Looks interesting. I may want to get into it. Plus Paul Rudd. You can't go wrong
Plus
with Paul
Rudd. Now, one of the things that I want to point out specifically is that with all of these reactions that have hit online, obviously Sony's not going to allow them to give a full review of the film. These are just initial reactions, right? The review embargo is going to lift sometime later in October, if not November. So we're going to have to wait a while for the review embargo to lift. However, one of the things that is important to take with a grain of salt is these initial reactions, these knee-jerk reactions. This is something that people didn't expect to see at CinemaCon. People didn't go to Sony to Sony's panel at CinemaCon expecting, oh, we're going to go see Ghostbusters. They didn't expect that. Even if they were going to even if the people were expecting a little bit of Ghostbusters news or, maybe even a clip, people did not expect the entire movie. So I can understand people's excitement and just being overjoyed, overwhelmed at this news or not the news, but just being shown the movie in its entirety. So that in itself is exciting. Also, let's take into consideration the mass demographic of people that go to CinemaCon. These are people that are hungry for this stuff. So I'm not going to say that the chances of this movie being good aren't very good. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's fun and lovely. But we also kind of have to reel in our expectations a little bit. Anytime you get a large amount of people saying, oh, this is so great. Oh, this is amazing. One of the reviews on that page from the Wrap, somebody says, this is the best Ghostbusters, period. And I'm like, those are strong words. Those are strong words. 1984 Ghostbusters is heralded as the best. I mean, Ghostbusters 2 was a little dicey. Ghostbusters Answer the Call, 2016 was, it was a film. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was not Ghostbusters at its heart, I didn't believe. But then you hear some of these reviews and saying that, Jason Reitman has carried the torch eloquently. He is honoring his father. He's honoring the legacy of Ghostbusters. He understands that this IP does not belong to him or his family or even Sony. Legally it does, but it belongs to the fans. And so he's trying to honor the fans. He's trying to give people the movie that they want. And in that regard, hearing that, at least on some level, that he's done that gets me excited. I was always going to see this movie. But now I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to see this movie. And I love your comments as well, Moses, saying that, this is an IP that you're familiar with, but you're not, familiar with, And now hearing some of these comments, as you say, kind of want to jump in and revisit this thing a little bit and do your homework.
And I want them to pull a CM Punk when he returned to wrestling and bring back the Ecto Coolers, just like he brought back the wrestling ice cream bars.
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if High C Ecto Cooler gets resurrected for this movie. That would be incredible. That would be absolutely incredible. But you guys, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts of these early reactions coming out from CinemaCon of Ghostbusters Afterlife? Where's your excitement level right now? Were you already planning on seeing this, like most of us are, or were, I guess? And how much more excited does this get you? Does this confirm anything that you had previously thought about the film? Or are you taking it all with a grain of salt and just taking the approach of, I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to get overly excited. I'll just take it for what it is, and we'll go from there. What are your thoughts? I'm interested. Jump on down to the comments section below. Are you guys, with all that down out of the way, now it's time to jump in and take some emails from you, our viewers, and see what you want to talk about. And you guys, if you want to get an email on the show, all you have to do is send me an email at gottalovethatmovies@gmail.com. We'll talk about what you want to talk about. If you have any breaking news, if there's anything you want to discuss that you don't think that I've covered enough of, let me know your thoughts down at gottalovethatmovies@gmail.com, and we'll make your email a main topic on the show. And our first email of the day comes from the Nerd Zone, and Nerd Zone says, I seriously need to stop browsing Netflix. I was browsing Netflix and a 3D animated My Little Pony film is coming out. Don't ask where I found it because I don't know either. And this is actually kind of an interesting thing. I mean, as Nerd Zone points out, he's a little tongue-in-cheek and saying, well, I'm not watching My Little Pony. Don't ask me how I found it. But I'll be honest. I watched the there is a new My Little Pony movie coming out. It's a Netflix original, all 3D animation, and it seems to take place in the same universe as the previous incarnation of My Little Pony. If you're not familiar with the animated television show, starring Tara Strong, doing like a lot of VO, or like one of the main characters, Princess Sparkle, or Princess Sparkle? Yeah, I think that's her name. I used to know all the ponies. You guys, I'm not a brony, but I kind of enjoyed My Little Pony. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I watched the trailer for this. I'm not going to lie. It looks pretty good. It seems to take place like maybe a generation or two after the previous incarnation of My Little Ponies. It seems to take place in the same world. I'm going to say, like, there's a few Easter eggs referencing the former My Little Ponies TV show. And the fact that I know that and I can recognize these Easter eggs, there you go. What can I say? But the trailer actually looks kind of fun. This is the kind of movie that I can 1,000% seeing parents watching with their kids. It seems to be kind of fun and lighthearted and actually have that sense of this genuinely something that parents can watch with their kids. And you can say that about most family-friendly kind of movies, but let's be honest, there's a quality level of family-friendly movie that is just a chore for parents to watch with their kids. The kids are like, yay, this is amazing, and I want more. And the parents, they just can't get out of the room fast enough. But there seems to be a certain quality or entertainment value that will, according to the trailer, in just my opinion, it seems like there is enough here that is going to hold the attention of adults just as it will with children. Now, Moses, I can't imagine you are the biggest My Little Pony fan on the planet, but just kind of hearing like that there is a new My Little Pony movie coming out. Is there any interest in this, especially maybe taking my word for it a little bit? I will probably be watching this. I will probably sit down and watch this movie. It actually has some elements of like today's culture. Some of the stuff, some of the garbage that is being reflected in our society right now seems to be addressed in this movie. And let me clarify for a second. The story that the trailer brings out, you have three different types of ponies. You have a normal, regular pony. You have unicorns who can use magic. And then you have Pegasus who can fly, or Pegasi who can fly. And in the previous incarnation of My Little Pony, like, they were all together. Like, they were all best friends. Friendship is magic was kind of the subtitle of the whole thing. In this version, in this movie, it looks as though the three factions of ponies are all scared of each other. Oh, we don't want to hang out with the ponies that use magic. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, we don't want to hang out with the ponies that can fly. Oh, no, 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 no. And so there's this, it starts off with like a father tucking his daughter into bed and telling the story of like, oh, generations ago, all the ponies used to live together in harmony. But now we don't get along. And the daughter pony says something like, well, why can't we all just get along? And of course, the story unfolds and they all kind of go off on their adventures and, getting the team back together, so to speak, of trying to understand each other's cultures and by learning about each other, letting that veil of fear kind of go away. And it's that, in that regard, that's what I mean when I say, like, there is substance here for the adult audience as well as teaching a good moral lesson for children. So, Moses, I present to you, is there anything about this that interests you? Do you have any thoughts on it? Have you seen the trailer? Do you think you might be interested? Like, where does this sit with you?
I'm not gonna lie, this is the first I've heard that they're doing a new My Little Pony movie. I'm sure it'll do well, but I felt like upon first hearing it, like I'm thinking that this would be a movie. If this movie was in theaters, it would probably do really, really well for the simple fact that, it's like kids movies tend to do very, very well. Not kids movies, but family-oriented movies that are geared toward the theater, experience, tend to do very, very well. Well, like if they're out in the box office. But hearing it that it's actually a Netflix movie, that makes a lot more sense. That also makes sense. I mean, not a lot more sense, but who am I? Who am I to decide? Who am I to decide? I'm not Doctor Strange. I can't see the future. But back on topic. I still probably won't see this movie, but if there was a My Little Pony movie to see, I would probably see this one. For the simple fact that, for many simple facts. One of them being that it's a juxtaposition of what has made My Little Pony, like everybody's friends and everything, but you have a My Little Pony movie where they're not friends? It's like, what happened? Like, I'm genuinely, I'm not saying this for comedic effect or anything. I'm genuinely curious. Like, what happened to make them not friends? Second,
can I comment on that really quick? Because I think that's the important message of the film is what happened? Why aren't they friends anymore? And being able to kind of take a step back and look at the world that we're currently living in, this is reflected, or rather, this is art that imitates life. Because we're currently living in a world where some people we're just not friends with anymore for whatever reason, and we're not going to. We all understand what I mean when I say that. We're not going to get into specifics, but the idea that there are people in the world who used to be close friends. There are people in the world who used to, go to barbecues together and be close family members. Events have happened that have kind of pulled us apart. So to that end, what happened? And I think that's a brilliant commentary. Sorry, I interrupted. Please continue.
Second, just more to that point, that one of my favorite Disney movies of recent history is Zootopia.
Great film.
Because it is of the standard Disney quality and whatnot, but it's very deep. And it's like if I were to have kids, I would sit them down and have them watch Zootopia, along with Inside Out, but that's another story for another time. But for the simple fact that it talks about, from what I gather here, it seems like they might be hitting on more adult themes that are very crucial for, if a kid learns early, then you might have less jerks in the world, if so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm all for content like that. And if you can, watch Zootopia immediately, because it is, like that third act, I was like, wow, I felt that. Like, wow.
Yeah, like the tears just start welling up, and you're like, you start feeling these overwhelming feelings of emotion. You're like, what is happening? I'm just watching a cartoon. Why am I crying? Yeah, I agree, man. And that's one of the things that I love about like these kinds of movies, is that they have a strong moral lesson. They have a strong sense of character and purpose. And if children or adults, doesn't matter, if people are able to connect with these characters in a way that they like or think is fun or silly, or that they identify with, then those strong moral principles carry over. And I love that, because that's how a big part of my morality was learned, was through storytelling and movies and film and cartoons and stuff like that. And I love it. I love it. I just think this is wonderful. But I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about this new My Little Pony movie? Do you have any plans on watching it? Did you even know it was happening? Do you hate My Little Pony? And if so, give me an actual reason why. I'm interested to see like where you stand on this point, and what your reasonings are. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section below. All right, guys, let's move on to our second email of the day. And our second email of the day also comes from the Nerd Zone. And Nerd Zone says, Black Panther 2 news. Ironheart will make her debut in Black Panther 2, confirmed by Kevin Feige. And yeah, that is true. We know that Black Panther 2 has been filming. There's huge controversy as to like whether they're going to recast or not recast T'Challa, and that's a whole other kettle of fish. But one of the big pieces of news to come out of the filming of Black Panther Wakanda Forever is that Riri Williams, who is a student at MIT and just a certifiable genius within the Marvel comics, has essentially figured out the technology to recreate Iron Man's armor. And, you know, it kind of makes... It's something that you wouldn't necessarily put two and two together, but when they connect the dots for you, it kind of makes sense. Here's Riri Williams, a student so brilliant. She is able to figure this stuff out. She goes to MIT. She recreates Iron Man's armor. With that sense of technology forward thinking, and compared with the forward thinking technologically, I guess, of Wakanda, of the country of Wakanda, it kind of makes sense that those two things go together or fit together. And so, yeah, I mean, there have been, there's at least one set photo out, not necessarily of Riri Williams herself, not of Ironheart herself, or Dominique Thorne, rather, the woman who is portraying Ironheart. There's no set photos emerging yet, but we do have kind of a tweet from Telegram.com with this particular photo of, okay, here's some vehicles. They're in Worcester, right outside of Boston, doing some filming. Please forgive me if Worcester is not outside of Boston, because my understanding is that it is, but I may be incorrect in that. So if that is the case, somebody please correct me. Let me know. But yeah, they're doing some filming in Worcester, and here you can clearly see there's a police vehicle that says Cambridge, which is where MIT is, which in the Marvel Comics is where Riri Williams goes to school. So, and she's also 15 years old. So Dominique Thorne is a little older than 15, so I don't know if they're going to age her up or if they're going to try and age her down a little bit. I could see her playing maybe like a 19-year-old. We'll see. We'll just kind of have to wait for the movie to come out. But this gets me ridiculously excited, Moses. I'm really excited. I'm really interested to see how they're going to move forward with this. And to finally see Ironheart on the big screen. I mean, yes, she's getting her own Disney Plus series. But to see her make her big debut in a big MCU film, there's going to be big CG around this, because you're not going to introduce this character. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe they're just going to lay the groundwork. Maybe they're just going to introduce the character, and then we'll find out how she becomes Ironheart in the TV show. Maybe. But I would actually love to see like a big movie budget behind the special effects, behind the costume, to see how this has all come together. First of all, are you familiar with the character of Ironheart? I assume you are. Yeah. But also, how do you think she's going to fit into the story of Black Panther, and what do you think this means for the story of Black Panther?
There's so much yes going on here that let me count the ways. First off, I could see that it being a tie-in to the very end of Black Panther, where it started, where we might see a little bit of her origin, where it's like she, in this universe, they'll tie it in the fact that the center that T'Challa builds at the end of Black Panther is like is like the spark that got her into technology and all that. And the mentoring there, she kind of like was like, that was kind of the very nice incubated parallel that Tony Stark was in the cave in Iron Man 1 type of thing. So I'm conjecturing here.
Sure,
This
yeah.
is just how I see it working in. So like the way Tony Stark was in the cave and just used his genius and ingenuity and like creating the Iron Man suit, the center that was built at the end of Black Panther could be the nice incubator for Riri Williams. That was the spark that led her to be all into technology, super jumped her into like the place where she was like, hey, I might want to go to MIT and all that and stuff. So it's just like skyrocketing her interest in technology. Because mind you, the thing within the Marvel universe is that the Wakandan technology is miles ahead of what the regular technology is for
True.
us mere mortals, if that's correct. So yeah, that makes sense on that instance. The simple prospect of possibly having Shuri and Riri together is just like, that's amazing. Just to see those two just be able to share screen time and like have what their interaction's going to be like. But also just from a marketing perspective and plot wise, as far as Marvel properties go, it makes sense in the fact that the Black Panther movie was a cultural milestone. Just being able to see representation all across the board for many different types of Black people in the diaspora. Now you're having the sequel to that, which is going to again be a cultural milestone. You're introducing a new character where it's just like, and under Ryan Coogler's direction, that's going to be I'm pretty certain that it's going to be a fan favorite. So it's like, I want more of this character. And then Marvel's like, well, we have a whole series on her. Here's where you could see it, type of thing. It's just like, okay, I want to see that. I want to see that.
And I like what you say.
So,
I clicked on the wrong thing. I like what you say about under Ryan Coogler's direction. Because Ryan Coogler, I mean, yes, Fruitville Station was a great movie. And then he really blew everyone away with Creed. Creed was the film series, or rather, because he only directed the first one, it really blew a lot of people away. And when he was hired to do Black Panther, everyone was like, okay, let's kind of see where this is going. And my goodness, Black Panther was one of it's the first and only MCU film to ever be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. So there you go. But his direction, his sense of his cultural sensibilities, the things that he chooses to highlight as opposed to the things that he chooses to like put into the background, it's genius. He's a truly brilliant filmmaker, and when you see the care that he takes when he crafts his characters, whether it's in the MCU, whether it's in the Rocky universe, whether it's with a film like Fruitville Station, he cares about his characters. And so, like, to your point, he's not going to put Riri Williams or Ironheart into this movie without caring about her and giving her purpose. And oh my goodness, that means so much.
He is my contemporary in the fact that he's made it and I haven't quite gotten there yet.
Yeah.
But he is a career that I aspire to because he has not made a bad movie. Fruitvale Station, like I remember seeing it in the theaters, and being very blown away by it even then,
Yeah.
and just capturing the life of this gentleman who unfortunately has a tragic run-in with the cops. So it's like, it's one of those movies I feel like it's, especially in this current time it's necessary watching.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were able to care about this man who very often could be a footnote in just a long litany of black men, it just reminds you. It just basically watch Fruitvale Station is what I'm saying. But like it doesn't matter if it's just the life of an ordinary black man, or like the son of Apollo Creed, or Wakandan denizens of varying degrees of strength. He has, like you said, a very certain sensibility that points out what their character is, while just getting you intrigued by it. And I really admire his style of direction. So Riri Williams is like, she's well taken. I have no doubt that she's going to be well taken care of.
I agree. But big question for you guys is, what do you think of this breaking news that Riri Williams Ironheart will be making her debut in the MCU in Black Panther Wakanda Forever? How do you think she's going to be used? What do you think the story... how do you think she's going to fit into the story? I'm interested in hearing your thoughts and ideas, so jump on down to the comment section below. All right, you guys, it is time to move on to our last email of the day, and our last email of the day comes to us from the Nerd Zone. And you can see that he sent in this email yesterday. The day has come! The day has come, ladies and gentlemen. We got the trailer for No Way Home, and I was right about a multiverse Sinister Six. Were you, though? We'll talk about that. He says, I can't wait to see the film. Your thoughts? Nerd Zone, I 1,000% agree with you. I am so excited also to see Spider-Man No Way Home. I want to jump into, let's pull up this webpage real quick from Collider. And like after the trailer debuted, Collider did this kind of like, hey, 7 things we learned from the trailer. And it kind of breaks it down. And some things are generic, some things we already knew, but like it kind of breaks it down. And I kind of want to address each one of these points. First initial thoughts for me is I loved this. I thought this was wonderful. It was a great trailer. Everybody was clamoring for it. Of course, there was the online leak. There was the trailer leak that came out where, you know, it's a video of somebody watching it on their phones. And it was poor quality. You could barely see it. You could barely hear it. There were a few things that came out, I don't know, somewhat recognizable, but for the most part, you couldn't quite really tell what was going on. So, was that impetus for Sony to drop the full trailer? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they were already planning on it. And also, as a side note, that bootleg kind of like handheld trailer leak, whatever, it had the watermark of one of the visual effects artists. So whenever a studio sends out a trailer to certain visual effects people or certain like online people or whatever, they put a watermark on it with the person's name on it. So if that image ever gets leaked, they know who leaked it. So the guy's name was literally on it. So I don't know. For like as a side note, that is fascinating to me. How that trailer got leaked, because unless this guy just wanted to like quit his job in a really big way, I don't know. It seems like I don't know. He's going to be in a lot of trouble for this. There's going to be a huge Sony investigation. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the actual trailer of Spider-Man No Way Home. We're going to break it down. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great trailer. In fact, we should have gotten a teaser trailer. I think we all figured we were getting a teaser trailer. You guys, this was a full-blown first trailer. They just bypassed the teaser trailer all together, and they just gave us a full-blown full trailer. Before we go through and break this down, Moses, I want to talk to you. What were your initial knee-jerk reactions? Because you're a huge Spider-Man fan. You're a huge Spider-Man fan. You're wearing the shirt.
Does it show? Does it show?
So yeah, what was your initial reaction here?
So, you know the saying, do you know where you were when
Sure do.
X happened? As the older I've gotten and the geekier I've gotten, I have one where, of course, it's the serious ones, like for world-changing events and all that. But also, you have those ones where it's just like more fun and just for stuff like this. So it's like I will remember where I was when the trailer dropped. So I was out with a friend, and we were just talking about random stuff, and she just looked at her phone for a second. She was just like, it's out. And I was like,
what's it?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then she was just like, the trailer, it's out. And I was like, no. And I was like, no, it's not out. And then she showed me the screen thing, and then basically since we were outside, what ended up happening was, because there were cars passing by, I was just like, okay, look, I'm not going to be so we had like an agreement that we would kind of separate and watch it separately, so that way I could be able to hear the thing on my headphones. So because I didn't want like any cars interrupting it. So it's like it was like just watching the trailer. It was just like the outright joy. It's just like going like, okay, I love the sweetness of just seeing Zendaya and Tom Holland together, and I'm just realizing how single I actually am. I was like, good for you, you lovely folks. But then just seeing the fallout of what Mysterio's loose lips had done to Peter's life and everything, and then going to Doctor Strange, which is one of the most New York styles I've ever seen. Like him in a parka with the cape out. It's just like, that is so. If he had like the only thing missing was Doctor Strange wearing Timbs. I need that in my life.
I mean,
just
maybe
because it was cold and everything. And
maybe he was.
It's like, yeah, people are talking about like all the different, like the Sinister Six and stuff like that. It's just like, I want to see if he's wearing Timbs. That's the movie I want to see in my life.
All right, so I want to go through. I want to jump into this article from Collider and kind of start breaking things down a little bit. The first point that they make in this article, if I can find it, where did it go? There we go. They talk about the plot of No Way Home, saying that, we finally kind of understand a sense of the story, what this is going to be about. I would argue we kind of already knew a little bit, right? We knew that it was called Spider-Man No Way Home. We knew, like, building off of the Home series, right? Homecoming, Spider-Man coming back to Marvel. This is also the Homecoming dance, right? Spider-Man Far From Home, he's not going to be in New York. Oh, and then the trailer drops, come to find out, oh, he's on a European vacation. Cool. Spider-Man No Way Home, we know that the multiverse is really getting amped up and revved up, and there's a lot of talk and speculation about the multiverse. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, stuff like that. So we know that the multiverse was going to be playing a big part of it. We knew that Doctor Strange was going to be in the movie. So when they say the title of No Way Home, that kind of already gives us a sense of idea of, we know what the story of this is going to be. It's Spider-Man going through the multiverse, and now he's stuck there, and he has to find his way back home. No way home. There's no way back home. Do you, Moses, have a different take on that? Or, I mean, because it kind of seems like non-news, like we already kind of knew it. Or does the trailer help to solidify that for you?
That plot, yes, we knew. But I feel like each film each film in the Tom Watts, not Tom Watts,
So-
John Watts.
Can you imagine a movie, a Spider-Man movie directed by Tom Watts?
Oh my God.
Oof.
No, now I kind of want that in my life now. But each title seems to have a relation to the plot. In Homecoming, it's that, you know, you could say that Spider-Man has come home to the MCU, or rather that he's, through the course of the film, he's come home to the fact that he's actually Spider-Man. Far From Home, of course, you have the obvious European vacation thing, but by the end of it, it's like he's now in a position where it's like he's far from his home, which is like being comforted and things of that nature. Being comforted, like his home is gone.
Level.
That mysterious, yeah, on an emotional level. So No Way Home, in my set, like, yeah, we already knew the plot as soon as, because of culture the way it is. But what if No Way Home isn't the fact that it's like Spider-Man's turning back point to where it's like he's now in a position where he cannot go back, where it's not going to be the same movies that we've seen in the previous
that's an interesting
two.
point.
That
Yeah.
something's going to. That something's going, because this is his third time. This is the third movie in the John Watts trilogy. So at this point, he has to start moving in the direction that he has to start growing up. So it's like the comforts and conveniences that he's known all this time. Something's got to give where he can't go back to that. And I think it was even alluded to in the trailers where it was like, where he was just like, okay, I want my secret identity to be secret. Okay, so basically, no one will remember that you're Spider-Man. What about MJ? Nope. What about Ned? He's my best friend. So all of these things have already been hinted at this trailer. So it'd just be very interesting to see what that's going to look like by the end of the movie.
Let's jump back into this article from Collider. The next plot, or the bullet point that they have, is something that you pointed out. Even Doctor Strange winter attire is a costume. Again, this seems a little non-news to me. It's just, hey, Doctor Strange is in kind of a silly, goofy costume. He's wearing a hoodie, and then he's wearing a coat, and then he's wearing the cloak on top of everything. And as you point out, Moses, it would be kind of cool to see Doctor Strange in a pair of Timbs. But again, like, yeah, his house is like covered in wintry snow. Does that mean anything? Is it just kind of like a fun aesthetic choice of like, hey, let's dress it up to look like this? That doesn't seem to be anything major to talk about. Would you agree? Would you not agree? Do you have something else to add?
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun. I just want to see Doctor Strange and Timbs with that.
Yeah,
it's fine.
it doesn't
Let's
seem to
move
be
on.
like a big thing. This next thing I actually think is kind of interesting. Peter Parker may or may not end up in a black Spider-Man suit from Spider-Man 3. What I'm going to say, obviously, take with a grain of salt. I have a feeling this whole sequence was a misdirection. I have a feeling that this is a scene that they filmed just for the trailer, and it's not going to appear in the movie. I mean, I could be way off the mark. It's Spider-Man into the multiverse. There could be so many different iterations of Peter Parker and so many different iterations of Spider-Man that we're going to see in this movie. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But there's something about this scene. And yes, we do very briefly see a Spider-Man character wearing the black suit in some kind of a battle with whom seems to be Electro, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But for this scene, we see Tom Holland wearing the black Spider-Man suit running through a cafeteria, or like running through some kind of a room. We know that Marvel puts misdirection in their trailers all the time. In Avengers Infinity War, we see that classic shot of, there's Captain America and Black Widow and the Hulk, and I think Winter Soldier's there, and the Falcon is there, and they're in Wakanda, and they're all running through the jungle like dun 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 dun, you know.
Yeah.
And like the big centerpiece of that was the Hulk. You actually see the Hulk running through the wood or through the forest with the other Avengers in Wakanda. That never happened in the movie. You just don't see, except for the opening sequence, you don't see the Hulk in the movie. So that scene was a huge misdirection. That was filmed just because they knew he wasn't going to be in the movie. So that was filmed just as pure misdirection. Same thing when you have Captain America, like Thanos is punching Captain America, and Captain America catches his hand. Thanos is like, who is this guy who just caught my punch? You get a really close look at the Infinity Gauntlet. And at the time, in the trailer, I think Thanos only had like one jewel or like one Infinity Stone or maybe 2 Infinity Stones. But in the movie, he had all of them except for one. He was missing the Mind Stone, but he had all the rest of the Infinity Stones. So again, misdirection. When I look at this scene of Peter Parker in the black Spider-Man suit running through, I see that as misdirection. Now, Moses, I could be way off the mark. I could be way off the mark. That actually could be a decent plot point within the movie. We just don't know. We have no way of knowing. This is our first look, our first trailer. In a second trailer or a third trailer, we might get more scenes of Peter Parker in the black Spider-Man suit. But being that the black Spider-Man suit is so intrinsically tied to Venom and the symbiote, and Venom hasn't officially made his debut in the MCU, I don't know. I see this as misdirection. What do you think?
Well, first off, I already knew before the trailer that there was going to be a black and gold like mystery suit because of the toy launch, because they had already showed like a lot of the suits I was going. So it was based on what the description of the action figure is, just so you know I'm not making stuff up. It's like a black and gold magic suit of some kind, but honestly, I mean, it's fine. It's just like, I feel like I'm kind of, I want to say that I'm on board with you on that for the simple fact that it's just like, I just enjoyed the trailer. I really just was happy that we got the trailer and that we know that it exists and everything like that. Like some of these deep dives, I mean, honestly, I would be good if this was all we had leading up to Far From Home, because it's like I said last week, this trailer could have dropped 2 weeks before the movie came, and people would have bought tickets.
They totally would
to go see.
Before we keep giving it more platitudes, I want to. There's a lot more to break down in very little time. So the next bullet point that Collider makes is that Green Goblin is back. Maybe. So again, in the trailer, like when some of the villains start emerging, this is the first image that we see of Green Goblin's kind of hand grenade, little pumpkin bomb, followed by a sounds similar to Willem Dafoe. It hasn't been confirmed that Willem Dafoe is in the movie. Willem Dafoe has been a little ambiguous as to his involvement with the film, at best. Is it Green Goblin? Probably. Let me go on record saying probably it's Green Goblin. I would also like to speculate, I have a feeling we might not be getting the Sam Raimi Green Goblin, but we might be getting a more comic accurate on-screen depiction of the Green Goblin, with kind of like the green cap or the purple cap and the red, green face paint. That whole thing. Maybe, who knows? Complete speculation. I have nothing to base that on. Probably. But I would also like to point out that it's also been heavily speculated that Ned Leeds, who is Spider-Man's best friend, played by Jacob Batalon in the film, Ned Leeds is the character Hobgoblin. Is Hobgoblin going to be making an appearance? Will Jacob Batalon be doing, 2 different versions of Ned Leeds because this is the multiverse? Is Ned Leeds going to see himself as the villain Hobgoblin? We very, very well could see that. We could see that head to head. Is this the Green Goblin's pumpkin bomb, or is this the Hobgoblin's pumpkin bomb? And the Hobgoblin, for those of you who don't know, basically stole and ripped off the costume and the tech of the Green Goblin and used it as his own. Whole other thing. But I mean, who knows? Maybe seeing the pumpkin bomb and hearing that vicious laugh doesn't necessarily confirm Green Goblin is back. Probably. It probably does. He probably is back. But not 100%. Not 100%. Before we move on to the next point, Moses, thoughts about Green Goblin, specifically Green Goblin being back. Do you think it's going to be Hobgoblin? Where do you stand?
That's a good point that I didn't really think of. Because it's a Sony property, they do have access to the sound files, so they could just drop it in and just go, here's just something to get the internet talking. But really, it's like, surprise, it's a slimmer Jacob Batalon in like Green Goblin, in repurposed Green Goblin garb. So that is a possibility. Again, until we see it, it's like I've come to apply this standard rule when it comes to films. Until we see it on the screen and we have proof, it's just conjecture.
And you know what we actually do have proof of? And let me scroll down a little bit more. We actually do have proof. Alfred Molina is officially back as Dr. Octopus. We already knew this was happening, but now seeing him in the film saying, "Hello, Peter," seeing the de-aged face of Alfred Molina, 1,000%. This is the one villain that we can 1,000% confirm and say, yes, Dr. Octopus as a villain is back in this movie. I mean, I'm hesitant to say that about any other villain. I'm hesitant because it hasn't actually happened. I'm hesitant to say that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are coming back into this film because there's no photographic evidence or proof or, official confirmation from any of the studio heads or the director or the actors themselves. So, I mean, it's all probably going to happen, probably. But if it doesn't, let's not be let down, right? If something completely different happens from what we're expecting, I don't want our expectations to be so high that if every bullet point isn't met, that we're immediately going to sink down here. And I definitely know Sony and Marvel, they don't want that to happen either. It's one of those things that, like, take caution, please. Please take caution, because I love this stuff just as much as anybody else. And if we don't get Andrew Garfield, if we don't get Tobey Maguire, if we don't get Green Goblin, if we don't get the Sinister Six, feelings are going to be hurt and people are going to be let down. And I don't want that to happen to me, and I don't want that to happen to fans. So I temper our expectations. Moses, any additional thoughts on that?
Yes. I think also from just the studio standpoint, Kevin Feige would, like, I've already heard, like, Alfred Molina spill the beans that he was going to be in it. And he was just like, fine, let's just put him in the trailer type of thing. So it's just out there. That's how I feel about it. But I'm kind of with you in the fact that I'm gonna say a different point that I don't feel like many people are realizing. This potentially could be the work of Mysterio.
Oh,
because remember, like, even in the first few trailers for Far From Home, we had, like, screen grabs of quote unquote Sandman, Hydro Man, Molten Man, type of thing, and they were like, oh, these guys are in the movie, confirmed type of thing. So we saw instances of them, but at the end of the day, the main big bad was Mysterio that had those nods to the comic books. So, and he'd also said in the movie that he came from a different Earth. Whether a different Earth and a different reality. So, whether you want to chalk that up as him being whether you want to say that he's an unreliable narrator, or he might have been, in fact, telling the truth, we just have to see this movie to find out what's what.
I will say, if that's true, it kind of negates the build-up to a multiverse. Because if Mysterio is behind all of this stuff, that's a massive misdirect. That's like a plot point misdirect. It's not like we're going to show you a scene that doesn't exist misdirect. Like that, it changes the whole context of everything. It's the same reason that I hated the post-credit scene from Captain Marvel. When you see Nick Fury on a spaceship with all the Skrulls in outer space, presumably trying to set up S.W.O.R.D., it negates the entire movie that you've just watched, because now you realize that was never Nick Fury. That was always that was Talos.
I thought that was the end credit screen for Far From Home.
I'm sorry. Yes. My apologies. Yes. You are sorry. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, sorry. That negates like all. Yeah. Now I feel silly. Yes, you are correct. But the point is the same. Is that it negates the movie that you just watched. Nick Fury having all of those interactions with Spider-Man Peter Parker and all of those interactions with Mysterio, and every portion of the movie that Nick Fury was in, that wasn't Nick Fury. That was Talos. And that I felt cheated. I felt cheated in that regard. And I don't know. So in that regard, if Mysterio is creating a Mysterio multiverse, I don't know. I have a hard time buying that. But to your point, that's not outside of the realm of impossibility.
Yeah, I'm just saying anything is possible. And he said, like, at the end of his quote unquote last words were like these days people will believe anything. And so It's like, I just feel like we don't know what combination of maybe Mysterio has like some pull in the multiverse, brung out more villains, or it's a or some of the lightning or sand thing is a combination of his
we just
powers.
Don't know.
We just don't know. No.
Speaking of not knowing, let's hit up this last bullet point from Collider, where they say Sony is probably building to a Sinister Six. I want to harp on one word. Probably. They probably are. In this trailer, we get confirmation that Doc Ock is back in the trailer. There's one sequence, and it's probably 1 second long, maybe less than a second. We see tons of lightning bolts, so probably Electro. We see the little pumpkin grenade bomb with a cackle of who's probably Green Goblin. I see, again, that might be a misdirect. That might actually end up being Hobgoblin. Who knows? It's probably Green Goblin. Probably, right? We know that Morbius, Sony's working on a Morbius movie. We know that Sony's working on a Kraven the Hunter movie. We know that Sony has a whole bunch of Venom movies out right now. Or I guess Let There Be Carnage will be delayed even further, probably until January. That's a whole other story, right? So there's 6 villains right there. We also have Vulture that exists in the MCU Spider-Man movies. They've already introduced Mac Gargan, who is Scorpion. Thank you.
Scorpion.
We've had the Shocker. We've had two incarnations of the Shocker. You know, if you want to delve into the Andrew Garfield movies, we've had Rhino. We've had the Lizard. You know, the Sandman was brought up in the Sam Raimi movies. So I mean, like, there's so Spider-Man and Batman, two characters that have the greatest rogues gallery of all time. I would actually argue Spider-Man has a better rogues gallery, but I mean, whatever. Are they building to a Sinister Six movie? We know that Sony's been wanting to do this forever. So I'm going to say probably, but again, we can't watch the trailer and say, it's been confirmed. Nothing's been confirmed until Sony comes out and says that it has been confirmed. Even in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it ends with this shadowy figure whom we still don't know, and we'll never find out because they never reveal who that shadowy figure is. But the shadowy figure is walking past the tentacles from Doc Ock, the wings from the Vulture. We know that, like, the Rhino costume came from that area. Like, there was whole other stuff. So Sony's been wanting to build up and do a Sinister Six movie for a long time. Maybe they cracked the code on how to do it, and they're trying to keep it secret and on the down low, and eventually they're going to bring all these characters together. Who knows? And as Moses points out, all of this could be contingent on Mysterio being alive. Maybe he's still, like, that's always been my takeaway from Spider-Man Far From Home, is that, did Mysterio die? I mean, did he? Because he's Mysterio. So I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on the Sinister Six? Do you think that this movie is confirming a Sinister Six team up at some point? Like, I don't know. How does this sit with you?
I feel like this is very, very much like, I won't say confirming, but I will say it's strongly suggesting. Because even at the very end of Homecoming, they were, like that bit where Vulture's in jail and Matt Gargan approaches him. He's like, I heard you know who he is. I got, like, a couple friends and whatnot, type of thing. So it's just like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but at the same time, I'm holding out reservations before I can say they fully are, because even within their own universe, they're about like, first of all, Spider-Man, knocking on wood here, Spider-Man's not going anywhere. So, Marvel's going to do whatever they can to keep Spider-Man in this version of Spider-Man going as long as they possibly can. And Tom Holland is young enough where they could be able to keep it going for a little while longer. So even from, like you said, even in the first movie, they had Vulture, Scorpion, Shocker, the Tinkerer, and now you've had Mysterio to the mix.
They also added Miles Morales' uncle, the Prowler.
Yeah, the Prowler. So even even with that, you're literally a movie or two away from having a Sinister Six alone. So they really wouldn't have to do much. It's just like for a Sinister Six, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. And we just have to see. I mean, yes, it's great that all of this excitement for the Spider-Man movie is coming. We finally got the trailer and, like, all of these theories and everything, but more to your point earlier, it's like, we need to temper our expectations for the simple fact that it's like, I will never forget, like, the few minutes, like, after seeing the trailers, it's like, I can't wait to see what happens next. Not necessarily like, oh, let me go rewatch the trailer like 15 times to pick apart. Okay, this is where the movie's going to be, this is where the movie's going to happen, at exactly 42 minutes, this is going to be the appearance and whatnot. It's just like, I love these movies because I want to discover what story's going to happen, not necessarily to watch the movie to be like, see, it happened exactly like I told you type of thing. I think we just need to remember that these people, for better or worse, were hired to do a job, which is to tell a story about a Spider-Man, in this case, a Spider-Man going through a certain episode in its life, not necessarily to tell them how to do their jobs or predict it before they do their job.
It becomes the danger. It becomes the danger, and I think this is why they don't want to release trailers too early, because when you release a trailer 6 months out, we start like getting into these fan theories and, oh, this is what that means and this is what that is. And then when those things end up not happening on screen, we tend to be a little disappointed. But you guys, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Are you tempering your expectations? What are your thoughts about the Sinister Six? Do you think the Sinister Six is going to be making maybe an appearance in this movie? Do you think this trailer confirms the appearance or the existence of an upcoming Sinister Six? And what are your reasonings behind that? What are your off-screen reasons, so to speak? What about the Green Goblin? Do you think it could actually end up being the Hobgoblin? Did Electro make an appearance in this trailer? Did Venom make an appearance in this trailer? Or Morbius? Or like, do you think there's going to be more of a crossover than we currently know? Do you think it's going to be more of a straightforward story? Do you think Mysterio is at the heart of this whole thing? You guys, there's so much about this trailer to break down and to talk about and to spawn more discussion. I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Jump on down to the comment section below. All right, you guys, with all that down and out of the way, you guys have been firing in some live comments and questions all show long, and let's jump in and take some of those right now.
It's alive! It's alive!
Right, you guys have been firing in live comments and questions all show long. So let's start taking these comments and questions. Nerdzone just typed, you just deleted the original vid. So with the live stream, what happened is when I started the live stream, I uploaded the video thumbnail for this week's show, but for whatever reason, last week's show thumbnail kept appearing. So I tried to change it, nothing changed, nothing happened, so I ended up having to delete that whole live stream, and then I uploaded this one with the correct thumbnail on it. So it seemed to work. Nerdzone says, someone said on Reddit, No Way Home should start with Flash getting a tattoo of Spider-Man. What? Should start with Flash getting a tattoo of Spider-Man, and then they announce his identity while he's getting his tattoo. I'm not so sure I understand what you're referring to.
I get what he's saying. It's just like a potential opening where it's like he's at a tattoo parlor getting like his Spider-Man tattoo, and then like mid thing, it's just like you see the J. Jonah Jameson thing. It's just like, or it's like Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and then he's like just to see the reaction on his face, just to know that like the person that he's been picking on for so long is.
I could see that. That'd be kind of a fun opening. I thought you were referring to Flash as in Barry Allen from the DC universe. And I was like, hang on. No. What? What are you talking about? Okay, I gotcha. Nerdzone says, hello, Peter. Gave me chills. I rewatched the Raimi trilogy yesterday. Such an important bit of my Spidey childhood. And Nerdzone says, also, Toby and Andrew are coming in the film. Again, Nerdzone, temper your expectations. That has not been confirmed. Is it happening? I will go ahead and say probably. Tobey Maguire is very expensive. He is very expensive. And he's notoriously difficult to work with. Andrew Garfield, more likely to be in the film. Nothing has been confirmed yet. Sony executives haven't confirmed it. There have been little news leaks here and there to suggest that they're probably in the movie. Nothing has been confirmed. I just want to put that out there. Nothing's actually been confirmed. But yeah, those Sam Raimi Spider-Man, the trilogy movies were incredible. So the first one came out in 2002. I had just moved to Ireland when that movie dropped. So I didn't get to see it until I came back to the States in 2004. And by that time, Spider-Man 2 was getting ready to be released, if not already released. Remind me, when was Spider-Man 2? It was
2004, June 29th. I remember those two theater experiences. I will remember forever. Briefly, if you'll indulge me. First Spider-Man movie was the Saturday that it was released. I couldn't find someone to take me because I was still a kid. So my mom lovingly went with me, while not having a clue about what Spider-Man was. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I remembered this whole this feeling of walking out of the theater just like just being so elated. And it's actually in another story. I'll talk about how that one movie set me on to my path of becoming a filmmaker. Now moving on with Spider-Man 2. That one was during the summer. I went with my younger brother, one of my best friends growing up, and my little cousin. And oh my gosh, the feeling of not only the entire movie, but the entire train fight sequence, seeing it in the theater changed my life. I cannot explain it, but it just changed my life. And then afterwards, as we were walking out of the theater, there was this lady who was trying to get in to see Spider-Man 2, and she was just like, I would like tickets to go see Spider-Man 2, please. And then the ticket taker goes like, I'm sorry, ma'am, we're sold out. And then she goes like, but I have a credit card.
Well, you don't know the credit cards solve all problems? That's how it works, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, man. Like, Spider-Man 2, I don't know. Spider-Man 1 had a huge impact on me. And specifically, it was the end of the movie. Because that was the first time that you see a hero protagonist walk away from his love interest. Here's the person that you spent the entire movie pining after. And then when they finally turn to you and say, I'm ready now. I didn't realize it before, but you are the person that I'm meant to be with. The protagonist is now just kind of like, you know what? I can't allow myself this indulgence. It's my sense of purpose and responsibility is too great. I cannot allow myself to engage in this relationship because literally the fate of the world is in your hands. And that message resonated so hard with me. I was like, wow, like you are really willing to sacrifice your happiness. And then, of course, in Spider-Man 2, we get to explore that even more, where he realizes that this responsibility is a little too much. It's a little too taxing on me. And I'm ready to give it up. I want to walk away so that I can be happy. I want the things that I want. And we all know how that turned out for him. But yeah, like those movies were so... Let's not talk about the third one.
Yeah. The Spider-Man... I'll say this. For a long time, Spider-Man 2 was my favorite superhero movie. And I would say the quintessential Spider-Man movie because it was the rare Spider-Man movie that got the... And even to this day, it's definitely a podium finish for Spider-Man movies because it was very true to the comics because Peter Parker is a soul that's constantly tortured. He's very underpaid, very undervalued, always trying to get the girl, and it's like he's always going through this struggle of what to do with this responsibility, and it really encapsulated it. And plus, they had like a lot of kick-ass action
Indeed,
scenes.
They did. All right, let's jump back into the live comments. Where'd we go? Nerd Zone. Nathan Kakis. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Nathan Kakis says, I love Daredevil. Yeah. Like, Oh my gosh, Brian Michael Bendis did this really great run with the Daredevil character. Oh, I can't remember exactly when it was. It was in the mid 2000s. He like totally revitalized the character and put in like some really interesting stuff. I believe Stiltman made an appearance, which is like, come on, Stiltman. But yeah, the Daredevil comics were incredible. The movie with Ben Affleck was a complete travesty. That movie was so unforgivably terrible. The Netflix series, while I'm going to give an unpopular opinion. I really liked the Daredevil series. I don't think it's as great as people tout it as. There's at the end of the day, it's still a Netflix show. And Netflix has a very specific flavor in their programming. Netflix has a very specific formula in their programming. And there's this cat and mouse aspect to Daredevil. And I will also say with the Punisher series, the Netflix Punisher series, that is unappealing to me. Like the cat and mouse thing between, oh, we're the police and we need to find this vigilante. Okay, we get it. We've seen that trope played out again and again and again. Why do we need more of that? And it's not even like it's done well. The cat and mouse aspects to those shows are okay. I see what you're doing. Like, but that aside, the story was really great. I really enjoyed the story. Joe Carnahan put together, just before Disney bought Fox, director Joe Carnahan put together this really impressive. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about, Moses? There was this trailer that he cut together from like other movies and other this and that and the other. So Joe Carnahan was pitching to 20th Century Fox, I want to do this kind of Daredevil movie. It's going to be 1970s. It's going to be gritty. It's going to be like true Hell's Kitchen New York in the 70s. It's going to be dark. It's going to be violent. And it's going to be hard. And he took scenes and voiceovers from other movies and like some of the graphic novels and whatever, and splice them all together to create this really cool trailer. Just look it up on YouTube. Just Daredevil, Joe Carnahan. Okay. And like the music, I think he was playing Superfly in the background. It was funky. It was dark. It had the Crow kind of feel to it, but like a 1970s The Crow. It was fun. It was really cool, and that's the version of Daredevil that I really desperately want to see. I don't think we're ever going to get it, but yeah, Daredevil's great.
Good stuff.
Let's see, where'd we go? Nerd Zone says, "Holy poop! I didn't know about Sony doing that with Ghostbusters Afterlife." I know, right? Yeah, so when Sony just, dropped this trailer, dropped the movie, the full movie from start to finish, it surprised the pants off of everybody. That was like the one move that nobody expected to see from Sony. And yeah, now I'm like really stoked. I really want to see that. I've always wanted to see it, but now I really want to see it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. So check it out.
Let's see. Nathan Kakis says, I thought he was talking to himself. I'm not entirely sure what this comment is in reference to. I thought he was talking to himself. I don't know if that's part of the Daredevil comment. Nathan, if you're still watching, can you add hopefully a little bit of clarity as to what you mean? Who was talking to themselves? I'm interested What's on your brain? Nerdzone says, my sisters asked me if I wanted to watch Ghostbusters 2016 with them. I said, this is the worst film you could ever come up with. And that was yesterday. Ha 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 ha. So, yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, Nerdzone, it's worth a watch. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's not a bad movie. It just doesn't feel like a Ghostbusters movie. There's also the the advertising of that movie wasn't done very well. One trailer said 30 years ago, all these scientists in New York fought ghosts. And then there was another trailer where they updated it and they said, well, 30 years ago, all these friends fought ghosts in New York. And so they kept changing the context. Are they scientists or are they friends? And it doesn't matter. Why does it matter? But then when you watch the movie, it doesn't take place in the same universe as the 1984 or 1989 Ghostbusters. It has nothing to do with the other. It's a thing. So it begs the question, well, why in the trailer did you say that 30 years ago scientists fought ghosts in New York? So it was confusing, right? It was confusing at best. The movie is bright. It's colorful. I actually kind of know a couple of people in the movie. So it has this kind of like, that was fine. That was okay. Kind of feel to it, but it's not a masterpiece of art. Yeah. And I know, Moses, you haven't seen it, so I don't know if you can comment.
No. Different strokes for different
It's
folks.
worth checking out. It's worth seeing. It's not the greatest thing in the world. Nerdzone says, well, Joker has shown in CinemaCon in 2019 in August. Oh, that I did not know, but that also doesn't surprise me. Joker, my goodness. Oh man, that might be in my top 3 favorite DC films. Maybe my top 5 favorite all-time superhero movies, or comic book movies.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so good. Moses, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I really love me some Joker. I really love me some Joker stuff. It was, not to say, and I'm not advocating, of course, the murder of people in
no, that's not what the movie was about.
Ways. Of course. No, I know. I'm just saying, like, just off the. It's a dark movie, but I really respected the directions that they took and just kind of how they highlighted it. It was, of course, Joaquin Phoenix, like everybody just was really good, and just that final scene was so the whole third act was so chilling. It was just, the whole movie was just like a slow boil to this.
When he he gets out of the car, the car accident, and like he's kind of bloodied up, and he takes like the blood from his mouth and just wipes it up his face, and I was like, oh, that's so gross, but also that is so who that character is.
Also, we can't talk about how great that movie is without talking about the score. Hildur Gudnadottir is amazing.
And she almost didn't get the job. She it was an experimental thing where everybody was like, "Oh, this Icelandic woman, her kind of music? You think that's the right choice?" And then she sat down with Todd Phillips and they started going over score ideas, and he was like, she is the person for the job. And like the studio was like, we don't know about this, and Todd Phillips was like, nope, she's the person for the job, like this is perfect. And it so totally was.
The score for the very beginning, which is the theme throughout the movie, the whole doom doom and so forth, the bathroom dance, and of course the score that was underplaying the very scene you're talking about. Every time I hear it, chills, like genuine chills. It's just so, it's like Zimmer level good. It's not hype. It's legit. It's like, if you haven't heard it, listen.
And just the subtle references to De Niro's The King of Comedy. If you have you seen The King of Comedy?
I don't think I have.
It's like a PG-13 version of Joker with Robert De Niro. The whole idea is that he's a stand-up comic who just can't get any respect. He's not very good. He's not talented at all. And his whole purpose is to get on essentially like The Tonight Show. And I think it's Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis plays like the Tonight Show host or whatever they call that show. But like it was the Jerry Lewis show or something. And it's just him being this socially awkward, terrible comedian trying to be taken seriously, and nobody's taking him seriously. And so he goes to the next level, and then he goes to the next level. If you've seen The King of Comedy, actually, now that you've seen The Joker, go back and watch The King of Comedy, because there is so much crossover. And especially with De Niro in the Joker movie, it's just hitting the nail on the head. It's perfect. It's wonderful. If you like Joker, you'll love King of Comedy.
Got it.
It's great.
Okay.
Let's jump in. Why did Kevin Smith never direct a Star Wars film? Like, come on, Disney. I may have an answer to that. Kevin Smith is not a good filmmaker.
Ooh.
Sorry. It's true. Look at his pantheon. He has made some great films. That is unequivocal. That is a fact. Kevin Smith has made some truly amazing movies. Incredible films. Kevin Smith is not a good filmmaker. That's why. He's a good storyteller. I'm sorry. He's a good story artist. I will say that. He's a good story artist. His skills as a filmmaker have declined severely over the years. He came out of the gate swinging with Clerks. I dare say Clerks 2 might be a better movie. At least technically, it's a better film. Dogma was a great movie. Chasing Amy was a great movie. And then Mallrats was a cult classic. I'm not going to say it was a great movie, but it's a cult classic. It's a movie that a lot of people love, including myself. There's a lot of love for that film. But let's start looking at the technical aspects. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It was a fun movie. It's a fun watch. It's not a good movie. Technically, it's not a well-constructed film. What is that movie ultimately about? It's all about superficial stuff. And then we look at movies like Tusk. Did not do very well. And a really weird concept. You look at Yoga Hosers. A complete... It's not just a bad movie. It's a poorly crafted film. How do you go from being considered like a prolific filmmaker and then you go on to make Yoga Hosers? And then he did Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. I don't like, if you were fans of the characters, great. It's not a good movie. It just wasn't. So why hasn't Kevin Smith directed a Star Wars movie? He's not a good filmmaker. That's why. He has a really big cult following, and he's king of the nerds right now. He's king of the nerds. But being king of the nerds doesn't, and being a filmmaker doesn't necessitate, we trust you with a $200 million budget. I mean, can anybody craft a better argument? How much money has any of his films made in the past 10 years? We love him because he tells us to love him, so we do. But I don't know. I contend he's not a good filmmaker. Do you have a different opinion?
I'm neutral on Kevin Smith. Yeah, I don't have too big of an opinion, but that's like the first time I've really heard anyone have really an issue with Kevin Smith.
I don't want anyone
issue with the
right.
with
I
his
don't want
craft,
anyone to
that's all.
think that I hate Kevin Smith. I don't. I actually quite love Kevin Smith. I think he's a great guy. I love his personality. As garbage as his films are, I kind of like them. I like what he puts out there. I like his tone. I like his vibe. I like his style. I like his swagger. I like who he is. I love his drive. I love that he's not a great filmmaker, but he continues to work in the business. I love that. That kind of stuff gives me hope. But we need to acknowledge the fact that his films don't perform very well. And on a technical level, he hasn't proven himself. He hasn't tried. I mean, I'm not saying that he can't produce a great film. He just hasn't shown us that that's something that he's interested in doing, you know? Anyway, that's kind of where I sit there. Back into the comment section. I always sing music. I always sing My Little Pony, skinny and bony, made out of plastic, feels like elastic. I've never heard that before. But I hope you can appreciate that I know, at the drop of a hat, the tune to My Little Pony. Nerdzone says, Mike, the fact you know so much about My Little Pony scares me. Why should it scare you? So, like, it's a property that has been created. The primary demographic are small children, specifically girls. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad property or that I shouldn't be interested in it or that, you know, I don't know. Good art is good art. So, I mean, it's a good show, and the movie actually kind of interests me. I don't know, like, Moses, I'm interested to hear your take on that. Like, I'm a 38-year-old man. I'm not a brony, but I don't know. I totally get what Nerdzone is saying here. Like, very facetious, very tongue-in-cheek. The fact that you know so much about My Little Pony scares me. Very tongue-in-cheek, very facetious, but, like, I don't know, there's an underlying social commentary there that I don't agree with.
Yeah, I think we should, like, even in all aspects, we should be very careful with, like, how we joke, because that's how negativity fosters, like, whether it be, like, just assumptions on what it means to, what kind of things you can like as a male or whatever gender you tend to identify with, or with race, or with sense of ability type of thing. I think we just need to be really careful with even, like, how we joke, in the fact that just, like, even when we're with those close to us in that instance, because it's like, I'm of the firm belief that there should be no such thing as guilty pleasures. I mean, you like what you like, as long, and don't yuck another person's yum, as long as it's not harming you. I mean, it's like, I'll say this out loud. I mean, I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan, but that doesn't, just because I'm not a fan of her work doesn't mean I can't at the same time recognize that she works hard at what she does. She's earned all of the success that she's gotten, and she has a big following. I mean, all those things can be true. I can just not be her audience, and that's okay.
And in that regard, I've been very vocal on this channel that I'm not a fan of Billie Eilish. But just as you pointed out, I also need to acknowledge the fact that she's an incredible artist. She's, a 3-time Grammy winner with her debut album. Mm-hmm. That is no small feat. She's a hustler. She knows who she is. She knows the type of genre that she produces, and she's unequivocally, objectively good at it. Just because it's not my thing doesn't mean that she's a bad artist or that people shouldn't like her. She is. Just not my, you know, I love to hate on her because, you know, sometimes it's kind of fun to have a villain, but yeah, I don't know. I like My Little Pony. I'm going to say it. I like My Little Pony.
Yeah. It's like all things can be true.
Let's see. Also, there is a Paw Patrol movie with Kim Kardashian. Who the heck asked for that? Yeah. I mean, again, I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination that not a huge Kardashian fan. Paw Patrol is directed truly at small children. And we're talking about like 5 years, like the 5-year and under demographic. That's not necessarily something that interests me. I've never watched Paw Patrol. I know my nephew loves Paw Patrol. He's all about Paw Patrol, but I don't know.
Those movies, it's like at a certain point where some movies, so I think some people forget that the power of celebrity and that celebrities are people too. And most of these celebrities, you got to remember that Kim Kardashian is a mother who has like very, very small children. So it's just like, my kid loves Paw Patrol. So it's just like, so she, like using her celebrity, she probably is like, hey, I mean, like, how can I get a part in the movie? Because I really want my kids to see me in something. So it's just like, I think we just need to be, like, feel like the same thing happened with RDJ with Doolittle. Because he wanted to create a movie where, again, he's a father of small children. So it's just like, he didn't make necessarily that movie for us, like the people who grew up with him as Iron Man and all that stuff. Yeah. He made it for his kids. And I mean, at that time, I feel like we very need to be careful with, like, again, with celebrities, with the choices of the roles that they take. Like, even Susan Sarandon got a guest role in Rick and Morty because one of her, like, someone in her family loves Rick and Morty. So it's just like, I think there's something very pure about a celebrity taking a role to relate to their relatives. So I think that's something that should be celebrated as opposed to.
And with
just
Kim Kardashian, it does. Yes, Nerd Zone. I agree with you. It seems like an odd choice because Kim Kardashian's not an actor. She's, how do you put it? She's an influencer. She's not an actor. She's a personality. Maybe at most a model. So yeah, it does seem like an odd choice, but I would also contend Paw Patrol might actually be a good starting place for her. If she wants to break into voiceover, if she wants to break into acting, Paw Patrol may not be a bad start because the stakes are so low. Nobody is going to listen to her vocal performance and go, oh, that was terrible. Because guess what? It's a Paw Patrol movie. So, yeah. I don't know. I totally agree with you. That is a weird choice. But weirdly, it also kind of makes sense, I guess. I don't know. Kim Jong, Pegasus, and Donald Unicorn had a fight. Vladimir Pony joined in things, went crazy, and the Sparkle War happened. Oh, is that... I wonder if that's the backstory. Kim Jong's Pegasus and Donald Unicorn had a fight. Vladimir Pony joined in. Things went crazy and the Sparkle War happened. Okay, I don't know specifically that this is what you're talking about, but it sounds like this is the backstory to why the ponies aren't friends anymore in this upcoming pony My Little Pony film for Netflix. Yeah, I can see that. That definitely makes sense. You have the three factions of ponies that have they all disagree on something. They have a fight. You know, somebody else comes in, and they have that essentially became the impetus for the Great Sparkle War. I could see that. Nerdzone says the first Disney film I'm going to show to my kids is Princess and the Frog. It was my first. It was your first film. Interesting, and I think it shows a good message. I saw the movie when it came out. Admittedly, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. And I've only seen it once, like I said, when it first came out. Maybe I'm not the best person to be talking about this, but I don't know. I do think that that's a solid choice, though. I do think that that's a solid choice. Did you see Princess and the Frog, Moses?
Yes, underrated Disney film. I feel it's and I believe it was the last Disney film that really utilized the
2D
classic animation style. While still integrating some of the modern animation tactics in certain scenes. But I love Princess and the Frog. Dr. Facilier's villain song is one of the greatest. Friends on the Other Side. It's just really, and plus Keith David is Dr. Facilier, so it's just like having that deep dulcet tones, like as ooh
Keith
yes,
David.
Like put it, yeah. I want more of it.
When I think of Keith David, my brain goes straight to Predator.
Mine actually goes straight to Gargoyle.
Yeah, man, what a great actor. Let's see. Yeah. But that actually brings up an interesting point, Nerd Zone, about like what's the first movie you're going to show your kids. There's in that regard, I don't know what's the first movie I'm going to show my kids. Probably some children's movie that is like brand new that comes out like at the time. I don't know. It all depends, because like there's different stages. Like Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time. So of course I'm going to be shoving this down my children's throat. But it's also not appropriate for a 3-year-old,
I think my first movie I would show my kids is Toy Story. Because it's like just the perfect balance of good storytelling. Well, it allows my kid to have like an imagination, like the possibility, my toys could be alive, but also has some very solid life lessons, as well as like getting along with others and knowing that it's okay not to have the spotlight all the time. Either that or Inside Out. Because it's just like it may be on the first. It's going to be one of those movies where it's like too deep for the kid to get on the first viewing, but it's like just to know that it's my first movie, and like they'll want to revisit it over and over again, and it may help them through the times when they're trying to navigate their emotions, which is, I feel like, is a very important lesson.
I feel like
for
that's a
kids
good
to know.
movie for like a 10-year-old to watch, or like an 8 or 9-year-old, where they reach the age where emotions start to take over. And just kind of navigate those. Oh, I love that movie so much. All right, you guys, it is 2:50 p.m. here in New York. Last week, the show ran for almost 3 hours. That was a little too much for me. We're going to go for another 10 minutes. We're going to end at 3 o'clock. I have to preserve my voice. And also, like I said, I share an office with my fiance, so she needs to come back into the office and continue doing her daily work routines. So we're gonna go for another 9 minutes at this point. Let's jump in and take a few more comments. Let's see. I'm actually pumped for Ironheart and Armor Wars. Armor Wars, I haven't heard enough about to get excited about. I mean, it's War Machine. It's like his show. Ironheart, I think, is going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing Ms. Marvel. I think that's going to be a really fun show. Like the tone. Also, She-Hulk. I'm excited for all of these shows. Moon Knight sounds really cool. Moses, when I said She-Hulk, you're all about that, man.
Yeah, it's like the actress is great. It's a very strong possibility. Unlike a lot of this Far From Home rumors, not Far From Home, No Way Home rumors. It seems like almost a foregone conclusion that Mark Ruffalo is going to be involved, because it directly ties to. That's been
confirmed. It has been confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah. So just seeing him being able to play off someone great like Tatiana Maslany.
She is so sassy. She's so sassy. I love her personality.
So
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for a lot of these projects. I'm excited for Armor Wars, because I always love seeing Don Cheadle, but just seeing like the properties that you named, like Ms. Marvel, especially Moon Knight. Like I want to see what that's going to be like.
Oh, it's gonna be so cool. But yes, I mean, yeah, Ironheart. They're all.
And
I don't think they're all great shows, but I'm really excited to see where they go and see what they do with these properties. Nerdzone says, if you watch How It Should Have Ended on YouTube, they just made a Black Widow, How It Should Have Ended. I check in with How It Should Have Ended every now and again. Would they have like a really big film or television show that I'm invested in? I'll check it out. So yeah, I'll probably check out the Black Widow one. The Batman Superman kind of Batman bit that they do in literally every single episode has played itself out so much. It's still kind of funny, but it's still kind of played out, and I'll definitely check it out. Nerdzone says, by the way, in the No Way Home trailer, you can see Sand trying to protect Spider-Man from electricity, and Sandman was redeemed in Spider-Man 3. Can you see Sand? I'll take you at your word there. You can see Sand trying to protect Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man. True. The Sandman was redeemed in Spider-Man 3. We'll just kind of have to wait and see.
We'll just have to wait and see, because, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Where did we go? Nerdzone says, the electricity obviously being from Jamie Foxx's Electro. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're all expecting there. And it's such a short clip. It's like 1 second long, if not less than that. It's really, really quick. Nerdzone says, Mike, because you're a comedian, I want to ask, what does comedy... Whoa, where did we go? Oh, I was literally just reading that comment, and then it got retracted. Well, that's weird. Huh. So as a comedian, you want to know what? All right, well, I guess we'll move on. This leaker ruined his career. Yes. Okay, so in this comment, what Nerdzone is talking about is that so on Monday we got the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer in its full glory. But the day before, on Sunday, there were TikTok videos that started emerging, and TikTok videos turned into YouTube videos, and YouTube videos got turned into Instagram Live videos, and it just spread like wildfire. And these TikTok videos were of, somebody watching the leaked trailer online, and the leaked trailer had the watermark of this one specific visual effects artist. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it had the watermark of this visual effects artist's name embedded in the video. So when you watch the video, you see his name because it's right across the video. Whether he leaked it himself, I highly doubt. Unless he's just kind of unless that's his middle finger to Sony and saying, I'm done. But if he were to do that, he wouldn't just ruin his job with Sony. He would never get hired anywhere because now nobody can trust him. So did he leak it? I doubt it. I highly doubt that he leaked it himself. What I do think is very likely is Sony sent, because again, if you watch the leaked version, some of the visual effects have not been completed. It's very raw animation in the leaked trailer. So obviously it was not a completed trailer. But what I think happened is that Sony sent this video to him and obviously to a whole bunch of people. Whether he needed to finish editing it or finish the renders or whatever. They sent it to him. I think it's very likely that he maybe not sent it to some friends of his, but maybe he brought some friends over to his house. And he's like, yo, the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. You can't tell anybody. You can't say anything. But you got to check this out. And it's very likely that when he wasn't in the room, somebody filmed themselves watching this thing on their phone, and then they leaked it. So did he leak it? Did the visual effects artist himself leak it? I highly doubt it. But now he is going to get thrown under the bus, and he's obviously fired and he's got to lawyer up, because even though he probably didn't leak it, he is going to be in a world of trouble. A world of trouble. As a filmmaker yourself, Moses, how does this whole situation sit with you?
Well, I imagine that this is a violation. This is somewhat how a violation of an NDA he obviously must have signed to be able to work on something like this. So the legal trouble is, I guess for me, like, just to sum it up because we're low on time, is that you have to trust your circle. Like, as a filmmaker, or as a content creator, you have to trust the people around you. And if you can't, then you have stuff like this happen. So it's also a reminder for many people as well as myself to just watch who loose lips sink ships, indeed. and don't fumble the bag.
It's true.
No, seriously, this is like through no fault of his own. The bag was fumbled because of someone in his crew.
And I can't say for any amount of certainty that I'm convinced of that, but that's the most likely of scenarios, is that he showed it to his friends, his friends showed it to somebody else, and somebody was like, well, we gotta put this online, So that's the most likely of scenarios. You guys, specifically Nerd Zone, I know we still have you sent in a ton more comments. We don't have time to read them today. However, here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do, because I need to end the show. The show needs to end. We've been going for 2 hours now. Kim needs to come back in the office. I need to rest my vocal cords. So here's what I'm gonna do. Later tonight, I am going to read all of these comments. I'll make a separate video. And I'll put it up either later tonight or tomorrow. And I will make a separate video where I go through all of these comments and address each one specifically. Hopefully we can get Moses back for it, but if his schedule doesn't allow, it'll just be me. But yes, I will go through every single comment and make sure that they all get addressed one by one in succession. Moses, this is your second week in a row. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation and expanding and giving us more to talk about. Last week when you were on the show, you plugged a couple of films that you've made and produced and directed and written. One of them already debuted in a film festival. Links went up online. Can you talk any more about that? And what other things do you want to plug?
Links are still available for Subsist. You can view it online literally now in the link that I sent over to you. Actually, both films, both for Subsist and Separation, are available now to be seen online. But if you're in New York, we're having an in-person premiere for Separation on Friday at 8:30 p.m. You can find that in that accompanying link below. And I also work on a web series called These Roots. It's an amazing look throughout history at the look of Black people throughout different parts of history, and I've sent those links.
Dude, that's awesome. All the best. Congratulations on creating film, because that is a huge accomplishment in and of itself. So all the success, all the best of luck to you moving forward. You guys, and also thanks for being here, Moses. We love having you. Let's have you on again. You guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Tom Holland's Spider-Man would want you to do. You guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world today, to speak kind words to each other, I implore you, please take those opportunities. As always, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I will see you guys next week.